Alright, so we got Evan back on the ride.
Yep.
That's awesome, man.
Okay.
So I was thinking about, man, I had so much fun geeking out with you the other day, man.
Same, actually. Yeah, it was really fun the other night. It was a pretty decent night, actually, overall for me.
We should do it more often, like right now. Geek out a little bit.
I'm down, man.
Yeah, man. Cause I was thinking about it, man. I was like, man, it was a relief to be able to to talk to somebody about comic books and stuff like that. Cause I don't get that a lot. A lot of my friends, they're like, I actually have a buddy who asks me questions. He'll call me randomly, like, who's this guy? And the movie came out. It's like I want to take my sons, but I don't want to look like I don't know nothing. So,
what I'm talking about. Yeah, I feel you. It's funny. I'm the same way. I got friends that are like, yo, so like I'm really hyped to see this movie, but can you give me a rundown of who this character is? And I'm like, yeah, I got you.
So at one time he was actually dating a girl that was big into comic books, which is really cool. I didn't grow up with that.
Gotcha.
So he's dating this girl, and he would hit me up all the time for advice and ask me about stuff. And I'm like thinking maybe I should like plug in his ear. I don't know, was it Cyrano de Bergerac or whatever? Would whisper from the bushes, "This is what you say next." I think it didn't last that long though.
Oh,
luckily for me.
Hey, do what you got to do.
Yeah. But we've talked a lot about DC because you're gaming, and
yeah.
But right now the big thing is Marvel because Infinity Wars
is coming out. Yep.
So, and like we both mentioned, we're more Marvel fans if anything.
Oh yeah.
Who was your number one growing up? Your number one character?
So growing up, I know all the rest of the kids, especially when I was younger, were like, oh, well, Superman's undefeatable. Even at a young age, I was like, yeah, but that's boring. I was like, that's not really that impressive. It's
right.
like, okay, if you can do it all, then why aren't you even helping for other worlds and countries? Like, it was kind of underwhelming for me. So for me, I was really attached to two characters mainly. And one of them was because of the Tobey Maguire series of Spider-Man from Marvel.
Alright.
And then the other character from, I'd say, DC was Batman, for sure. I didn't really know about Nightwing or any of that stuff too much yet. As a kid, I just started watching Teen Titans on Cartoon Network.
I know you mentioned Nightwing's your man now, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Big fan of Nightwing as well.
Oh, yeah.
So what made you fall in love with the Spider-Man character then?
So overall, whenever I was little, the first real interest I got into it was I ended up seeing the Tobey Maguire series of Spider-Man. That was kind of like the big start off for most superhero movies, in my opinion. And of course, Spider-Man 2 was probably considered one of the better.
As far as Marvel is concerned, definitely was their launch what they needed to get in the game.
And it's pretty much just been a really high rise for them for different movies from all across the board. So,
well, I'll tell you this.
Piece.
Well, you said the movie attracted you to it, but what about the character that made him stand out over the others?
Oh yeah, well, I definitely liked how in this case you had a character that was not necessarily considered, oh, I'm undefeatable, da 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 da, or so ridiculous, but it actually seemed somewhat humanly possible for a person to end up having these abilities or something, even if it wasn't to the extreme versions that are in the comics.
Right.
Having someone that just had the idea of super strength, someone that could end up being correctly treating people, etc., and had somewhat of a decent wit, some comedy in there.
Right.
It seemed like a really good mix, and I really was just drawn to the character.
That was my big appeal because I was always a smack target. And that's what made me fall in love with Peter Parker. Plus he was relatable because he was young too.
Yeah.
That's what really helped him the character blow up. And a lot of people don't know if you know this. He pulls his punches, and I think that just is part of what makes him such an interesting character because he deals with that inner conflict of what a everyday teenager or a person would go through. Whereas Superman, he's a god type of character where it's almost like he doesn't have a flaw to be concerned about, so
he's just kind of there, to be honest.
Yeah, it's just come and save the day. He's always in a positive mood. But anyways, and then what do you have? Batman is night and day with those characters. So but then I'll tell you this though, one of my all-time favorite characters came from Spider-Man, which is one of the reasons why the Tobey Maguire movies I have a distaste for. The first two are definitely a fan of, especially the first one. I think it was a great introduction.
Yeah, the third one was sketch.
But Venom is one of my all-time favorite characters. Like me and my best friend, forgive me if I mentioned his last one, but we used to collect the comic books. I was Wolverine. Big Wolverine fan, so I would collect all the Wolverine comic books, and he would collect all the Venom comic books. And when we were done reading our issue, we would switch them.
Yeah.
So that's like how big I was in Venom, and they definitely didn't do any justice. And I'm a little worried. And I love Tom Hardy as an actor, but I'm a little worried on
the new
Venom movie.
Yep. Like, I'm really, really, really excited because I also agree that Venom should have his own movie and stuff like this. But I am also worried for multiple reasons. One of them would be, are they going to do him justice? Because in the Tobey Maguire series, it wasn't exactly great.
No, they picked just not to cut you off and go back to that, but they picked some geeky kid from the 70s shows, which, no offense, he was my least favorite character on the show. Not saying much because they were all fun. It was a funny show. But he was nothing like Eddie Brock in the comic books. Eddie Brock looked like somebody who was playing football all his life,
a jock.
So
basically.
he didn't have that
athleticism.
Yeah, he didn't have that intimidating look, and I couldn't even take him serious since he's the kid from the 70s show, the geeky one of the 70s show. And they're all geeky too. That's the worst. And he was the geekiest. So yeah, back with that though. What are your concerns about this shit?
The other one is that, yes, technically it's a Marvel character, and Marvel did have to help give the copyrights and stuff to, and this is where the problem comes in, to another company to make the movie, and that's Sony. So when it comes to the Marvel movies, Marvel's been doing a great job with any people they've been associating with, but Sony has not really been in this picture, really, of making a lot of these really good, superpowered movies, of consistently being a part of it. And I'm worried that if Sony just tries to go, picture how Michael Bay basically was with Transformers. The first one was good, but then after that he tried to go over the top with explosions and went too far.
Now that's all he's known for, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm worried that Sony will might have a similar thing happen with the superheroes whenever they try to touch them, where it's like, oh yeah, we have Venom, well his powers are such and such and such and such, let's overdo it. Let's try to overcompensate.
Let's add some explosions.
Yeah, I don't want it to be over the top for this character because he's a really solid character.
And then on the other end of it, where it'd be the complete opposite, and it'd be too
undertoned,
undertoned, kind of like to match with what Logan brought, where Logan was more of a dry, not so in your face with all the comic book characters, you know what I mean? But it was still an excellent movie.
Logan was a really good movie.
Logan. But my biggest concern, I think is that it's Deadpool's fault. Right? I love Deadpool and everything that's going on with Deadpool, but because Deadpool is such a big success and being an R-rated movies, all these other companies are like, now we gotta do an R-rated movie. So Logan comes out, which was an excellent movie, but I feel like Venom's being rushed because they just introduced this young Spider-Man character, and now they're throwing Venom in our face just because he's a character that couldn't be R-rated and is a real big, huge character, and if they do him right, he can be done awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's why I feel like they're rushing into it because they're trying to play catch up or whatever.
I agree. It's that perfect touch between not too much and not too little that they have to find, and I'm a little bit worried that they won't find that. But if they do find it, then that movie is going to make a killing in the theaters.
Well, my other fear is because we just got this new Spider-Man. He's a young kid. There's no backstory of him and Eddie Brock, working together and all this and stuff like that. So it's like, is this going to be a completely new Venom altogether? You know what I mean? Or is this, how are they going to tell that backstory of the black Spider-Man taken? Because Venom's powers mimic Spider-Man's because he possessed the symbiote possessed Spider-Man, Peter Parker, for so long that once he took over Eddie Brock, he had similar characteristics.
Attributes,
So that is how are they going to incorporate all that when you have Spider-Man just became a character, a thing. So that's one thing, And I'll tell you this, I have ideas. I'm no movie producer, I don't think I can be, but I'll tell you how I had a plan a long time ago of how I would have done it. My Spider-Man trilogy. All right. So for this, maybe movie producers can watch this and get the ideas. Reach out to me.
Hopefully.
Don't forget where you heard it for first.
Please get it right.
At least get my name in the credits.
Please get it right.
But it's like this. Spider-Man. Right now we have the Infinity Wars. This would have been the perfect time to incorporate, the symbiote. Spider-Man getting the black suit and then bringing it back to him, right? You could throw it somewhere and make it a minuscule plot line in the Infinity Wars, because they got a lot on their hands with the Infinity Wars. But then bring that into when they do the Spider-Man solo. Now, he's got that black suit. He goes through the emotions like in the typical characteristics. Don't do the cheesy Tobey Maguire dance moves and think he's so. That was ridiculous. That is not. But do the adrenaline rush that he gets when he's using the black. And then when the anger starts to try to take over. You know what I mean? Like that type of stuff is what made the black suit controversial. And exactly. And then when he got rid of it, and then the backstory throughout the first, and this is in the first movie will all be about Spider-Man, and they'll have the characters playing the bad guys throughout the movies, but the main conflict and the main antagonist of the movie will be that suit.
Yep.
So then, and Eddie Brock will be in the background throughout the movie as well, building his story and his relationship with Peter Parker, and then his dislike for Peter Parker. So then at the end of the movie, when Peter Parker defeats the suit and gets rid of it, and it ends on Eddie Brock, that's the beginning of part 2.
Yep.
So then the sequel will be, him introducing Venom, and then him fighting this mysterious character. And then by the end of it, figures out who it is and everything.
The suit, yeah.
But then and then the part 3, because I did say it's a trilogy, right? Because one of my favorite things about Venom and a lot of characters, like if you're a big Dragon Ball Z, Vegeta's one of my all-time favorite characters. I love those bad guys turn good. Always had a big appeal to those guys. Like Punisher is one of the originals. Matter of fact, what people don't know, even Deadpool, I think, originally was a bad guy. But so Venom eventually turns into anti-hero, they call him, right?
Yeah.
And he teams up to fight the ultimate bad guy that I think is the ultimate bad guy in Spider-Man, is Carnage.
Yeah, the main thing that I would love with Venom, because I'm actually a huge fan of Venom as well, I would love for them to do a little bit more of an in-depth showcase of how after the Peter Parker, after all of this, after all that's said and done, I would love for them to focus on Venom and show how with Doc Ock and stuff, once they end up creating Anti-Venom, Carnage, trying to think of their baby that they end up having off the top of my head. I can't think of the name of it. It's just barely slipping. But each time that a symbiote ends up basically reproducing into a new species, the one after it becomes more powerful, which is very interesting, and it also keeps the attributes of its parents, whoever that they are.
Well, I actually had the comic book storylines, Maximum Carnage.
Oh.
Where Carnage is actually, he teams up with Domino. Matter of fact, I believe it was Domino that he ends up getting in a relationship with, and they end up creating symbiotes, and they end up becoming like his babies in a team.
Yeah.
So then that would be the spin-off. Once you've established that trilogy and you establish Venom as a character, now he's an anti-hero. Now he can have his own standalone, just like in the comic books how they played it out.
Yep.
Do his own standalone movies, and then again Carnage and the symbiotes and stuff, and expand that whole world right there. So it's great. I'm glad we had these conversations, and on the subject, just before we wrap this up, because one of the biggest things that Marvel, I guess people are saying, have an issue with on their movies is the bad guy factor. It's the enemy factor, where Venom, for example, we're talking about one of the greatest enemies to Spider-Man, one of the biggest characters. They're saying for example, Sony owns Venom. I think that's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
Is that the best bad guys are owned by the other companies. What is it? Magneto, one of the greatest bad guy characters. Even sometimes he's an anti-hero. One of the greatest characters to me, one of my all-time favorite characters in Marvel, is Magneto. But he's owned by who? Is it Sony that owns the X-Men?
Don't know. I don't know that part about who actually owns them.
I think it's Sony, right? Fox.
Oh yeah.
So you know, Fox owns the X-Men characters. So some of the best bad guys are from X-Men. You know, and then you have Doctor Doom, another one of my all-time favorite bad guys, one of my all-time favorite characters. Period.
Fantastic Four movie.
And that's Sony, right? Sony owned Fantastic Four.
I'm not sure who created Fantastic Four either.
Whoever it is, everybody's mad at them. And,
yeah, that movie was.
And I'm mad because Doctor Doom is one of my all-time favorite characters, and he can do it. He can be his own standalone movie.
Oh yeah, easily.
But if anything, you know, Fantastic Four, all of them. I tell you this, I love Fantastic Four. Johnny Storm, another one of my favorites. But really, it was Doctor Doom that appealed me to the Fantastic Four comic books in the shows and stuff. So
that was a similar way. I like seeing the way that they enveloped the villain, and I just wanted to kind of see what they would do with that, to be honest. And with the movie that just came out for the newer version of this Fantastic Four, definitely did not meet expectations. It was way below standard. The way that they did Doctor Doom was completely unheard of. There was a lot of things wrong with that movie.
It was so disappointing as a comic book fan, you know, and like I was already having, you know, that's because like I'm okay with changing the race of a character that's mildly known.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Not a big deal if nobody really knows the person, you know. But I really like to keep them to be as true to the comics as possible. Like, for example, when Daredevil came out and he had brown hair, I wasn't a big fan of it because he's a redhead. You know what I mean? He's Irish, you know. But that guy's Irish anyways, you know, so at least but that guy is awesome, and I wouldn't want anybody else to play that character now, you know. And then another one, we talked about the Flash, right?
Yeah.
Barry Allen's a blonde, but in the show he's a brunette, which of course I wasn't a big fan about, but that guy, Grant Gustin's awesome. I don't want anybody else to play the Flash. Like, you saw how many people were hating on Ezra because he got the role.
Yeah, in Justice League.
Yeah. So, so I'm okay with that. But you know, and I'm okay with you maybe changing the race of a character too. But if it's someone like Johnny Storm, who's like, he's an iconic character, you know, the Fantastic Four is well known. He's got his sister is half of them. You know what I mean? So if you're gonna change the race, change both of their races. You know what I mean? Don't make it so confusing and weird and awkward and then, like, you know. So, anyways, but if you know, keep them true to the comics. That's what I'm asking you guys now. Anyways, we're getting carried away again. Love doing this with you, man.
Same, man. We should probably start something up here.
Look at that. That means it's meant to be. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do. We call it the Geek Out series. How about that?
I'm fine with that. Yeah.
We're gonna Geek Out series. We're gonna start the Geek Out series. Stay tuned. I got an idea. Infinity War coming out.
Yeah.
We should do a review.
I'm down for that. Yeah, I'm planning on seeing it probably, hopefully next week once it comes out. I got a new pass, so I can just slide in there and try to see it whenever I can.
Oh, look at this guy. He's got the connection. You got to put me on to that. Hey, so stay tuned. We're going to start out. We're going to do this more often. We're going to geek out comic books. We're going to do the reviews in Infinity War. Blah, 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 blah. We're going to do the Infinity War review. That's going to be awesome, man. Definitely.
Yep.
Look forward to it, man.
Same.